How's everyone doing today? I'm gonna be talking about one of the most horrific characters ever in a movie I've ever seen, and I'm dealing with one of the most horrific things ever. Wires, man, wires can be so annoying. Just like getting tangled up in shit, you know. But anyways, we're gonna be talking about Alex Delarge in this one. Now, when I was first watching Clockwork Orange, I don't think there's any other movie that has made me feel as unsettled or nervous, to see a character in a movie as Clockwork Orange did. When I first, I kind of had an idea of what Clockwork Orange would be like before watching it, and that's why when I was first watching it, I was just kind of more anxious and nervous. Keep watching. I literally had a pause. I was just contemplating watching it because it's just that like horrifying and sounding, and just it was also real as well. It'd be stuff that happened back in the day, and then holy shit, Clockwork Orange. It really was like as disturbing as I thought it was. Alex Delarge, he well, maybe not as disturbing as I thought it was like he only did like, I don't know. He did do violence only for like the first half of the film, and then in the second half of the film, he basically just became a sub. Like everyone was just fucking him about the place. Pretty deserved though, if you ask me. But Alex Delarge is one of the most horrifying characters I've seen because it's realistic, and he's also a teenager, and the actions he does or anything, he doesn't seem to show any remorse or anything for any of the things that he's done at all. He doesn't really seem to care. Like in the movie, he's fully well aware of what he's doing and what like what these people are like feeling. Or like he knows what he's doing is evil. He's just like, right, I can because this is great. This is great crack. This is fun. As long as I'm having fun, I don't really give a shit. And I think it was a pretty good movie. It also was really dark as well. But Alex Delarge and his Droogs as well. Him and his group of Droogs are sadistic pieces of shit. They will come and beat anyone they want. If they see like a lone woman, holy shit, she better hope she has like a sword on her or something, or she's just next to her gap because she is gonna, get fuck, I don't know how to put this, get got by Alex Delarge, and they're gonna do things to her because in the movie, at the start of the movie, actually, him and his Droogs, there's like this drunk, homeless man singing underneath the bridge, and then him and his let's say him and his homeless Droogs, I'm pretty sure they do have homes, but then him and his Droogs come along, they start walking towards him, and then they start, at first they're pretending to be his friends, and all they're like, oh yeah, that was a fucking brilliant tune, pal, you should be in the opera, I'll be the first one to buy tickets to your concert, and then he starts, talking more, and then after that, just like, puts the stick on him. He just, pokes him with the stick. He kind of just keeps him like, still and steady, just like holding him in place for the beating to commence. So then, the guy proceeds to complain about how there's no law and order anymore. Scumbags are just roaming the streets, like filthy dogs like you, Alex Delarge and his Droogs, and then they all just proceed to kick the living shit out of him. They kick the homeless man so hard they make him flopping like he's a fish out of water, and they like their violence doesn't really stop there. He does this like he does this to a rival gang. Now this is probably a little bit better because that rival gang, they're pretty much like Alex Delarge and Droogs as well. They're literally like the scene beforehand. Before the fight broke out, they're literally gonna rape a woman. They're like stripping her of her clothes and shit. They're gonna like place her down. It's pretty fucking disturbing. The movie is. So then the only reason she got away is because the Billy Boy got distracted by Alex, and Alex Delarge and his group, they proceed to beat the shit out of them as well. I'm fairly sure Dim, the chunky boy, the guy that's basically two people on one physically, and he was beating the shit out of one of Billy Boy's mates on the ground, even though bro was already knocked out. So pretty much in this movie, Alex Delarge, he kind of strikes you as the type of person that like he enjoys violence. Like all this shit, he calls it ultra violence, which is ultra violence because you're going to such extreme lengths just to get some dopamine or whatever. It's pretty insane. He seems like he's desensitized by violence and shit, and that's pretty dangerous because he doesn't really seem to care about any crimes or anything he commutes. He actually takes pleasure in them. It's like a little kid playing hopscotch, except he's playing hopscotch with you and beating the shit out of you. He also doesn't follow any laws at all. To him, laws are just a made-up concept. Laws to him don't exist. He thinks he's above the law. They do not apply to him at all. Law? What's that? That's like a unicorn, bro. It's fake, So he plays this game. He also plays this thing in the movie called Hogs of the Road, where basically after he bet the shit out, after him and his Droogs bet the shit out Billy's gang, they rob their car and they just proceed to drive on the wrong side of the road on purpose just to force other people, swerve off of the road or, jump a little ditch. One motorcyclist jumps a ditch. A guy in a van ends up having to crash into like a little stonemason shed or whatever. I don't know, it's just a little house made out of stone. He ends up having to, destroy it and, get out of the way, and they're just having the time of their life. They're having the crack. There's some guy on the road, and they didn't stop for shit or anything. They were speeding up the whole time. They're acting as if the car was like sliding on ice. It's like you're on a Minecraft boat, and you're going on ice blocks, and you're going at the speed of fucking light, pretty much. That's what they were doing with the car. Then your man had to dive out the way. So pretty much if that guy didn't dive out the way, and he would have gotten hit by the car and killed or gravely injured, Alex Delarge would have not given a shit. He was like, right, so here's my phone. You can just call the ambulance yourself. I have things to do. There's a woman that I have to go molest a couple of blocks up, and that's what he does. This is probably the most horrific scene I've ever seen in a movie, and probably the most horrific scene in this movie. Thank God that there's nothing else that happens just as bad in this movie, because this is pretty bad to watch. You don't really get to see the full scene, it's not like that kind of one scene, like that one scene, This Is England, but it's implied, and you pretty much, unless your brain's like dust, you know what's going on, you know what's implied. Alex Delarge shows up at this couple's house, and he can be cunning and smart, I guess. Although he's kind of smart to an extent, because he uses like this excuse, be like, oh, there's an accident, it's a matter of life and death, we have to go in and use your phone, we have to ring the ambulance, you have to take one of the boys to hospital, he's dying, he's out there like a puddle of blood and basic shit on the ground, like he's gravely injured. He uses this excuse basically to get into people's homes, and once he has access to his homes, it's a playground for him. It's like a Gmod map, a custom Gmod map for him. He can do whatever the shit he wants, and that's what he does to this couple's house. The second he goes in, they grab the woman, and he proceeds to just wreck the place. He kicks your man to the ground. He tips over his table. He fucking tips over his whole bookshelf. I'm like, bro, what did those books do to him? I guess he's just, illiterate, or he has dyslexia. So, then he has like this, I don't know, this like cock protector thing wearing, and underneath he keeps it like a gag ball, so he whips that out. He gags your man. He like tapes the gag ball shut into his mouth. So then he proceeds to basically cut the woman's clothes off and rape her in front of him. It's pretty disturbing. It's pretty fucked. And your woman didn't, like, it's not like your woman got killed by Alex Delarge. She didn't get beaten or stabbed or anything. She died because of the shock of what happened to her, which, holy shit, man. This guy, he will go through, there's no limits. He won't, there's like, he will pass any boundaries. He will hop the boundaries like an illegal immigrant hopping the border. He doesn't give a shit. Even like when, he'll do it too. He'll even treat his own boys like shit, because one day, one of the, what's it called? He basically lives in like a shithole, in like a shithole part of England where everything is just like a barren wasteland. There's litter everywhere. There's barely like any gadgets or anything. It's just scumbags roaming the place around like cats at a cafe. And he lives in a dilapidated shithole apartment complex where the elevator doesn't even work. And one day when he's coming down, he sees the boys already, they're sitting by the staircase. They're already chatting up, and he's like, all right, what are you doing here? What's this surprise visit for? And basically they reveal to him, oh yeah, there's a isolated pharmacist, kind of outside of town. It's isolated, and then, the woman's really rich now. We're just thinking, going rob or doing a diamond casino heist. And I don't know, Alex Delarge, he's one of the characters that every time he's on screen and he's with other people, it made me feel nervous, because I kind of got the feeling from him that he was a bit unpredictable, and seeing what he already done to your woman, like back in the house when they were playing Hogs of the Road, it's like, he will do anything, so that even amplified it worse. And he basically, Dim is actually, he's pretty much like the Mikey of the group, or he's the one group that he's the one person in the group that Alex is constantly taking the piss out of me. Alex probably just sees him as like the easiest target. Alex like sits on his lap as if he's gonna start making out with him or whatever. I thought he's just gonna like start beating Dim or whatever. It makes me so uncomfortable whenever he's on screen. So Alex, they decided, his Droogs decided to, they planned to rob this rich pharmacist without Alex or anything. They just planned it themselves, and that's it. It was like, fuck the leader, follow me instead. They didn't really get Alex's permission. So then the next day, when Alex is walking with the boys by the lake, he proceeds to just beat his Droogs because they were doing shit without him. Alex, he kind of uses like fear to kind of keep his men in place. Keep him to have dominance and control over the group, which ends up not really working out in his favor later on in the movie. He proceeds to just basically beat him. He hits Georgie in the nuts. Dim goes flying into the water after trying to hit him with a chain. And then when Dim, tries to reach out his hand, Alex, help me, I'm gonna drown because I don't have my floaties on me. Alex, he whips out, he has like a cane, and at the top of the cane there's like a hidden blade, and he takes that out and just slices Dim's hand. And then they go to the shop, and Alex treats the wound as if he's just got like, I don't know, a scraped knee, like a kid that was swinging on a swing set, and he just ended up flying and flopping onto the ground. He didn't care, and then he's like, "You're right. So we're back to where we're supposed to be. Yeah, we're all good now. Now you know who's in charge and who's the boss. He done all that just so like he can be in on the plan, because since he's the leader of the group, probably the smartest, he needs to be." In there at all times. He's basically like their supervisor, like in primary school or whatever. He's pretty like he's a huge control freak as well. So then later on that night, Alex Delarge breaks in. Alex Delarge breaks into the pharmacist's place, and he basically just starts rage baiting her. He doesn't really seem to take anything seriously as well. Like I said, violence and shit is fun to him. So there's like this big dildo penis stone statue. So he just starts toying around with that. Year one, there's like this Abraham Lincoln head. And he's like, going around, dancing around with her, dodging his hits, and I was like, "Whoa, you missed me!" And then she hits him and throws him onto the ground. So then Alex, what he does is he kills her. I'm not sure if he meant to kill her. He didn't like repeatedly bash her fucking skull until it was like flat like a pancake. He just like hit her once with the penis, and then just left, because like the guards were on their way as well. So then as soon as he gets out the gaff, his boys, this is where like the whole thing where how like in some movies and TV shows, some leaders would like to treat their the people below them with like fear and just like control and shit, and then others would like to treat them with like actually treating them right, respecting them, loyalty and shit. He chose the fear thing, and that backfired him immediately, like a shotgun just recoiling you. Because Dim, he whips out a glass of milk and just smashes him in the face. He blinds him in the eye, I'm pretty sure, and they just leave him to get arrested by the guards. And pretty much in that's where he stops being evil, because for the rest of the movie it's just him being a victim. His parents, even got fed up of his shit, because I'm fairly sure actually, I'm fairly sure the reason to him being so violent and all this shit is because in the movie, his parents don't really seem to be, all that bothered about him. He could simply lie to his mom, being like, "Right, I'm just going to go off to work," and she doesn't even know what he's doing. He's been out of school for a week, and she's like, "Oh yeah, grand, don't care." The dad seemed to be like completely absent out of his life, so maybe him just like lack of like parenting has kind of led to him as well, and maybe it's because the timeline they're living, if he's just exposed to violence and she's just living in a shitty part of neighborhood, he's just exposed to all this at a young age, so it's kind of like conditioned into his brain to be like, yeah, this is fun. So even his parents, they get fed up of his shit. They replace him with another guy. Another guy ends up, basically being their son, and they literally replaced him like I don't know, a broken bicycle or some shit. They just went to the bike shop and just got themselves a new bike and be like, yeah, this is replacing the old one. And then Alex, he basically just fucks off and contemplates killing himself. This is where he's like really depressed and down. In the movie, although I do think it's justified the shit happened to him, because he's a horrific piece of shit and horrific things happen to him. Like there's one scene where he's basically getting attacked by a flock of homeless men because they know who he is. They know what he's done. They're beating one of the boys, so they're uniting, and they're basically just beating the shit out of him. And the cops come and save Alex Delarge. Luckily, there's cops in here. He's safe now. Oh, but who is it? It's his old Droogs, Dim and Georgie, and I think it's just Dim and Georgie, and they smile and seem like, "All right, Alex, lad, come to the pub for a pint." Except they didn't go to the pub for a pint. They went to an isolated field where there was like a feeding trough or something. I think it's like a thing that horses drink out of, or they piss and shit in, or whatever. I don't really know. But anyways, they take him to like this trough that has water in it, and then they proceed to fucking nearly drown him and just start beating the living shit out of him. Just start beating the shit out of him, start having fun. I feel like that would be justified. It's still pretty brutal though, because they're just kicking the shit out of him mercilessly, not really caring on them. But the shit he done, yeah, he pretty much deserved it. I think then like the worst thing that happened to him actually, which completely made him worse or completely changed up his character, is the Ludovico technique, which basically forces him to be a good boy in the system. And one of the things that conditioned him was if he thinks about doing violence or he thinks about doing any like rape or anything, the in out, he's gonna feel excruciating pain as if he ate a bad taco or whatever. And then in one of the movies, he shows up at the guy's house. The guy who he just molested his wife earlier on in the movie. Yeah, he shows up to the gaff later on, and the dude doesn't recognize him or anything at all. Alex, this is like a dead giveaway as well. This is the only reason this guy's able to recognize Alex. When Alex first showed up to your man's house, he was singing in the rain, and then later on in the movie, he starts humming that to himself while he's sitting in the bathtub. So then when your man's just there listening, be like, wait, I recognize this. So then he just starts having a fucking overdose, like he's just injected a bit too much needles inside of himself. So then, yeah, he knows who this guy is. He knows what's up. So when Alex comes out, he traps Alex in like this room, and he can't get out or anything. Like I'm pretty sure everything was just barricaded. All the doors were blocked. And one of the things as well that is supposed to cause Alex great excruciating pain. He's a serial rapist, murderer who likes to beat people for the crack, like a guy just playing PlayStation after school. He also likes the tunes. He likes Beethoven. He thinks he's a pretty good pianist. So then he's supposed to feel pain when he hears that music as well, which sounds fucking horrible. That's like a metalhead listening to, I don't know, Metallica or Slayer or Sepultura, and they just want to kill themselves. It sounds like shit. Hearing your favorite tunes and you're in pain. So the dude starts playing this music for him, and Alex just jumps out the window. He has no other choice. He tried to kill himself, and at the end of the movie later on, the cure didn't work at him or anything. It was only like a temporary thing. It wasn't it wasn't like a permanent solution. It's pretty much like temporary. It didn't really work because he's still like fantasizing and thinking about like raping a woman as well. So like in the movie he seems like a pretty big sadist, and I think what's worse as well is that he's just a teenager as well. The fact that he's a teenager, he's doing all this shit, he's able to beat the shit out of adults are scared of him, which is fucked up. He might be like I already said this multiple times, but he is one of the most horrific people I've ever seen in a movie, and I'm fairly sure in the book as well some of the shit he does is worse. So there's like a scene in the movie where he sees two young women at a vinyl fair or this place where you can like buy records or whatever, and he takes them back to this place to do a shag. And in the movie he takes them back to his place, and he proceeds to beat them and rape them, which is like the books will always be more worse than the movie. So it's like watching the movie was horrific, and imagine what reading the book was, because like reading a book, it's all up to your interpretation and mind. So but yeah, Alex Delarge, piece of shit, and see you later.